So once again, welcome everybody. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Claudina Brochna. I'm the Drone and Data Insights Manager here at We Robotics. And today's webinar is led by Cameroon Flying Labs and Nepal Flying Labs. These two flying labs have recently received a Turning Data into Action microgrant from We Robotics, and they are both working on very exciting projects. Both of them align in terms of the focus area, so they both work on landslides. And the title of today's webinar is Drones for Landslide Study. And our speakers will be presenting their case studies from Nepal and from Cameroon. Before we start, I know that we have part of our audience who may not be aware of who we are and what we do. So I would like to take a few minutes to just go through a few slides. The mission of We Robotics is that we shift the power with the local experts in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. We are a social impact organization, and we bring together local experts, local communities, and local activists to offer practical alternatives to systems dominated by foreign-led and top-down interventions and organizations. We always say that our work is not just about the robots. In fact, it's more about who gets to use these robots and the technology and for what purpose. So it is more about shifting the power and redefining what it means to be a local expert. The local experts with lived experience typically know how to best create positive social impact. And through our work, we are co-creating and facilitating an inclusive and sustainable network of local drone data and robotics leaders. The network is called the Flying Labs Network, and it stretches across Africa, Latin America, Asia Pacific, and also beyond. So by doing so, we build an effective and practical model that others can adopt to accelerate locally led efforts in response to pressing challenges. Our key role is to support the Flying Labs network so that the individual flying labs and the network as a whole can grow and thrive. And we do this by co-creating and facilitating the network. We work a lot on the technical capacity strengthening, but also the sustainability capacity strengthening. We offer a lot of opportunity and value transfer, knowledge exchange, technology transfer, a lot of shared governance and monitoring and evaluation and learning, and also the network model improvement and ongoing documentation. I would like to also go through a few slides on the Flying Labs themselves. So the Flying Labs, they are a global network of independent knowledge hubs. The members of the Flying Labs are local experts that have professional experience and expertise in drone, data, robotics, and AI services. The Flying Labs strengthen local expertise in the use of drones, the robotics, data, and AI for positive local social change. Collaborating with community partners in the humanitarian, health, environment, and development sectors, each Flying Lab strengthens local capacity and tech expertise and implements sustainable solutions within their communities. So that contributes to the local ecosystems, and it contributes to sharing the learnings across the network also to catalyze this positive impact. We get a lot of questions on how the Flying Labs are set up and financed. So it is actually in line with the purpose of the network that the Flying Labs are self-financed. We put a lot of emphasis on sustainability of the Flying Labs. So they are hosted by existing local organizations that already offer professional services and education around the technologies that we have discussed. And Flying Labs remain financially independent by offering their own training, their own professional services to local and international actors as well. So that includes the local governments, businesses, NGOs, academia, etc. I took some time to talk about the Flying Labs because it's the Flying Labs who are the speakers in today's webinar. We are joined by Césaire and Desap from Cameroon Flying Labs, as well as Suraj from Nepal Flying Labs. And I'm going to take just a few more minutes, and then I promise I will hand over to the speakers and I will stop talking. But I would like to take a few more minutes to present our speakers and tell you a little bit more about them. Césaire is an aeronautical engineer and a co-coordinator of Cameroon Flying Labs. He holds a master's degree in computer engineering from the University of Nangudere, an advanced certification in robotics software engineering, and flying car software and systems engineering from the US-based institution. Césaire has been working since 2013 as an air traffic controller and drone expert at the Cameroon Civil Aviation Authority. And starting in October 2020, he's also a lecturer at the University of Yaoundé, where he teaches embedded computing and artificial intelligence. Currently, he's a PhD student in robotics control, perception, and AI at the University of Yaoundé. Césaire is passionate about autonomous vehicles, and his mission is to better the lives of people using drones and robotics. Joining Césaire, we have Desap, also from Cameroon Flying Labs, who is a systems embedded electronics engineer, also a coordinator of Cameroon Flying Labs. And Desap is experienced CASA certified drone pilot, also a certified instructor of micro drone, TME education ambassador in Cameroon, IoT specialist in Kanda Weather, and a founder of RobotSafe and RobotSafe Education in France. Desap holds 2 bachelor's degrees in radio communication and mechatronics and robotics for space industry from the University of Versailles Saint-Quentin, and also the National Advanced School of Post and Telecommunication in Yaoundé. Moving on, I would like to also introduce our friend from Nepal Flying Labs, Mr. Suraj, who is a geohazard researcher working extensively on the application of frontier technologies for disaster risk reduction and disaster management. He's a graduate of Masters in Disaster Risk Management with a background of civil engineering from IOE Polchok campus. He has a healthy experience in leading DRR-related projects, conducting risk assessments using frontier technologies like drones for disaster risk reduction planning and urban development. His key research interests include the study of geohazards, flood and landslide risk management, establishment of early warning systems, and also working towards anticipatory action. Just before I hand over, I would also like to add that the speakers of today's webinar would love to also get in touch with you later on if you see any opportunities for collaboration. So without further ado, I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you, Loic. Hi to everyone again. I am Césaire from the Cameroon Flying Labs. We are very happy and excited to have you all here today for this presentation on using drones for landslide management in Cameroon. So for this presentation, please look next slide. Next slide, please.
Yes.
For this presentation, I'm going to be assisted by Loic and Joël. And for the outline of the presentation, we first start with the goal of the project and why using drones instead of using other traditional methods like land surveying or satellite images. We are going to talk about landslide overview, that the most recent and prominent deadly landslides that have occurred in Cameroon in the past recent years. Next will be about the list of tasks accomplished to date, and the next project timeline. For the equipment, we are going to talk about the equipment that we are going to use to execute this project. And for the software, we're going to talk about the software, the technologies that we are going to use to execute this project. And for the deliverables, we are going to talk about the final output that we are going to share with our local stakeholders at the end of the execution of this project. So for the goal of this project, we we intend to provide the local government with enough insight, enough information on landslide impact on the ecosystem, like where the landslides occur and when, what triggers the landslide in Cameroon, and the damages, namely the loss of life and the damages on the environment. Given the climate change, we have recorded a lot of heavy rains these recent years, and with those, the increase of landslide, of deadly landslide in Cameroon. So we believe our local government should take concrete actions in order to help the local environment. So in order to help the local environment to come up with the regulation in settlement of the local population in areas that are prone to landslide, we intend to provide the local government with a landslide sustainability map, which identifies areas that are subject to landslide. And those areas can be measured in terms of low to high, in terms of risks. So another objective that we intend to do is to create awareness for the stakeholders to help reduce landslide effect in Cameroon. Next slide, please. Okay, why using drones? Because in the past, these type of projects were usually done with traditional methods like land surveying or even satellite images, but those are really inefficient. So we are using drones because drones are cheaper, and with drones uh, a with a drone that costs less than $1,000 or less, we can use drones like that in order to accomplish a very high efficient mapping of landscape areas. That's why drones are really useful and efficient for this type of tasks. So images are of better quality as well compared to those captured by satellites and land surveyors. And drones are also useful in mapping large and hard to reach areas because they are highly efficient and deliverables are produced really in less than a time. Next slide.
Okay.
Okay, here Loic is going to take over in the landslide overview in Cameroon. Okay, Loic.
Okay. Thank you very much for the landslide overview. 21st of July 2023 was the in Bay, that is located in the southwest region of Cameroon. There was a very catastrophic rainfall that caused landslide and caused four deceased. That is four people that were being killed during that period. November 22, 19 in Yaoundé, the capital city of Yaoundé, 15 people were dead due to the same thing, poor construction too. And on the 20, on the 9, on the 18th October 2022 in Yaoundé, still in Yaoundé, four people were being killed due to that. So mostly the landslide overview, in fact, is mostly caused by heavy rain, and also due to the heavy rain, some construction that were being poorly constructed without knowing the land characteristics, and in fact, without knowing how the land is, how the land can resist in the nearest future. So we have all discussed it. And on July, on the 31st of July 2021 in Fumban, West region of Cameroon, three people were being killed due to heavy rain. On the 28th October 2019 in Bafoussam, 43 people were being killed during the raining season. And this is the image of what happened. And the list of the tasks that to be done till date: review of literature, selection of the areas of study, listing of stakeholders, selection of tools and technology to be used. Project timeline. So our project timeline is mostly defined by the project definition and planning that happened in August. Now in August, and we finished by the beginning of September. The data collection, that is the most important part, that will be by the end of September. The data processing and analysis, that will start in October, that will start and end in October. The data sharing, that is sharing with the stakeholders in order to put it into action, that will start in November. And directly the impact evaluation, internal and external one, that will be end of November to beginning of December. Okay, the vulnerability, we have intense deforestation, uncontrolled urbanization, habitat on waterbelt, lack of control water channel, poor construction type, and soil type. Equipment to use. So we are going to use the DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise. That has the different characteristics: 56 zoom with wide camera of 12 megapixel, a flight time of 45 minutes, a heretical position level, and improve low level light performance, and automatic adjust altitude with mapping area with variation in elevation. Okay, I think it's time for Jorel to continue.
Okay. So I am Joël Bangia from Cameroon Flying Labs. I am actually a land surveyor engineer, graduated from the National School of Public Works in Yaoundé. I have about 5 to 6 years experience in land surveys and drone technology. Cesar, please can you come back? I'm unable to speak directly from my computer because I'm having a problem with my computer. I don't know if Cesar can go back to the 2 slides before this. Starting on not after vulnerability. No, vulnerability. Okay, so I'll actually start from here. So we, like we said, we're trying to have a cartography or of a risk accessibility landslide map. So we have to first of all define what makes a landslide to occur, like what are the things that makes it to be more vulnerable. You know, there are areas of intensive deforestation where people just come and they fell on trees and the trees are not planted anymore. We have uncontrolled urbanization, people just houses, people having houses and implanting the houses everywhere. We have people constructing houses on waterbeds because there are areas where there was a river perhaps about 10, 20 years ago, but due to people's misusage, the waterbeds or the water dried off, and now it's actually a waterbed, but people come and they still construct on those type of areas. So we have lack of controlled water channels because you know, there are many areas in the different neighborhoods where there is no real urbanization plan. We have poor construction types because, you know, there are we are supposed to have specific construction types for specific areas. Like if it is a type of flooded area, we suppose the foundations are supposed to be different from areas where it's perhaps a shallow type of foundation. So we also talk about the soil type. If we are in an area where the soil is a little bit porous, the construction type on that area should be different and stuff. So those are all these things hindering or making it vulnerable for the landslides to occur. So I'll go to the next slide. The equipments we are using. We decided to use 2 equipments, which are one, the DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise, and the 2, we are going to use the DJI U350 matrix. Why did we use these drones? Why did we decide to use these specific drones? For the DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise, we have a good zoom camera. The flight autonomy is 45 minutes. We have the RTK precision level, which is centimetric. It is improved low light performance, and it has a particularity that it automatically adjusts the altitude when mapping areas with variation in elevation. Now let's go to the next slide. The DJI 350 matrix still on the RTK mode. We use the RTK mode because we don't want to use control points. We prefer to use directly the RTK mode, so we have a better precision. Here we have a 55-minute flight autonomy. It is relatively more stable because of its weight, and it is favorable for harsh conditions like during dust because it has a control. The controller is waterproof and dustproof. Okay, please. Now, the different softwares that we're going to be using, we are going to use 3 softwares, which are Pix4D Mapper. So Pix4D Mapper is going to be used to delimit the mapping zone. That's the different neighborhoods. We are going to generate an auto mosaic. Then later, because since Cesar said, our aim, like he said, the final results, we want to create awareness on the landslide effect. We also want to create a landslide vulnerability map. So we won't end there by just having the auto mosaic with the drone. So we are going to use again ArcGIS Pro, which is a builder model to operate multi-criteria factors. We are going to generate a risk map. We are going to have a cartography of landslide determining factors. We are also going to have the landslide exposure maps. And perhaps what we also want to do is a 3D representation of the vulnerable areas, like showing how the houses in neighborhoods that are more should, in case a landslide is going to occur, the houses or the schools or companies where that could be affected. We would like to make a 3D representation of all that. We are also going to use a drone logbook to log the details of the drone mission. Please, next slide. Okay, when you want to study landslides, we wouldn't just take a drone and fly to have the area. There are also some other data that we need. We need to know the climatic aspects because it's important to study the climatic aspects of the different areas to know why or during which period of the climate the landslides occur. Are they during the heavy rains? Are they during the rainy seasons or during the dry season? It's important to know that. It's also important to have a topography aspect of the areas. Like we need to know because, for example, if I take the case of Yaoundé, which is the political capital of our country, it is called let me say it in French, La Ville aux Sept Collines. So it's actually the town with different hills. When you know if there are different hills, it means there is an under, so the hills, and there is a bas-fond, like what they call in French bas-fond. I don't know if the name in English. It means there are areas where the water leaving the mountains run to. And if the water runs towards like a basin, it means areas or houses or people that are building on those type of areas are more likely to have landslides. So it's important to also have the topographic aspect of the different areas. We also need to study the hydrographic aspect of the areas, like are they rivers, are they good channels for evacuation. We also need those data. There's also an important data that we need the demographic aspect. We need to study how the urbanization of the area has evolved during the years or during the past years. Those are the other data which we will read, and those data we can take them, we can directly download from there is this open source OpenStreetMap, which gives us most or many of the data. So there are 5 factors which we will use to classify. There is the slope to classify our model gradient. There is the slope. The more an area is sloping, there is the altitude. There is the topographic wetness. They also use the Euclidean distance from the river to make classes, and the mean sea level. Those are the 5 different criteria that we use in order to classify the different maps for our different outcomes. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we'll talk about the final deliverables. Like we said, we are going to have a landslide vulnerability map. We are going to have an automosaic, which is a DSM model, blog post, use case. We'll also make a risk map. We'll modelize a 3D risk map, bringing in, showing in schools, houses, or areas affecting. So you can see a little bit for those who can see the type of maps or the type of, these are the different criteria, the 5 criteria we use. And the map in the middle is actually the vulnerability, accessibility, the vulnerability risk, landslide risk vulnerability map, which is actually an outcome of the combination of all the 5 criteria that I cited. We use the slope, we use the altitude, we use the Euclidean distance from the sea, from a river, we use the mean sea level, and we use the topographic wetness. It's actually a combination of all those maps that will actually give us the map where we want to bring in. And the next slide shows us a 3D. This is a sort of a 3D presentation of one of the outcomes we want to actually have. And with those maps, they are the maps that we're going to show the different stakeholders in order to create an awareness. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much to the entire team of Cameroon Flying Labs. And now we can move on to Nepal Flying Labs, and Suraj, over to you.
Thank you so much, Claudina. I hope my screen is visible. Is it?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Okay, thank you so much for organizing this. And it's been a pleasure that we have been working for the past 5 and 6 years, especially regarding this disaster risk reduction and management. So we are making the use of frontier technologies like drones, which has been providing us a very effective and very economic solutions. So I'll be sharing my some of the insights that we are currently doing in this project. So this project is currently being implemented by Nepal Flying Labs, and there are some experts who are supporting us especially in conducting different analysis after the observations and after the finalized deliverables of AutoMosaic and other products. So basically, today my presentation outline will be regarding this, and without any further delay, I would like to move into this. And talking about Nepal, it's a beautiful country, but if you see the topography, if you see the geology, and if you see the overall context, then it's a very complex country. Because in the straits of like just 193 kilometers, the elevation of the country varies from 70 meters to 8,848.86. So you can see that in a very short stretch, the deviation, I mean, the range of elevations makes the terrain really complex. And we have been facing a number of disasters that may be related to geophysical and also to the hydrometeorological and so on. So you can see there's a picture. This is a map of Nepal, and the red dots are the number of landslides that have been reported in Nepal. So in one of the work, I had digitized all the fatal landslide with fatalities in this map. And you can see most of the region in the mid hills of the country is concentrated by these landslides. And if you look at the data of the past 50 years, it's almost like 111, 112 deaths that we are having every year. So the data is from Destin Ventar and Ministry of Home Affairs. And if you look at the if you talk about the Nepal's major reason for this landslides, it's mostly because of the monsoon. We have a very high precipitation, almost 80% of the country's rainfall during the months of June to September. So for these 4 months, we are having excessive rain, and almost 80% of rainfall is contributing to the reactivation or the generation of new landslides. So that's what is our scenario. Now I would like to jump into our study area. The study area is from the Ramej hub. It's from the Bagmati province, the central part of the country. And if you see over here on my screen, the debris flow, it has the majority of the landslide is located in the Monthly Ward number 3 and Ward number 4. But as the time has progressed, it has started progressing, and it has the flow is getting bigger and bigger, and the area is increasing, expanding to other nearby wards as well. So this has been resulting in the significant generation of debris that has been flowing downstream, and again it is interacting with different element at risk. For instance, it can be households, it can be agricultural lands, and that's why we are facing a serious problem. And talking about the conditions and the whereabouts of this region, so you can see here. It's about the meteorological stations are also not really abundant, and you get the information that is the telemetry information is also not available. That is, it is very difficult to get near real-time rainfall in that region, and whenever the rainfall threshold exceeds, then again there is a very high chances of reactivation and again the generation of debris in these areas. So we have looked into the lithology and geomorphological features in this region, and through different consultations and historical timelines, we came to know that this landslide first occurred in 1961. It was not that big, but together with the progression of time, it has been expanding. And our team has also conducted a drone survey back in 2017 after the Gorkha earthquake. So we had Gorkha earthquake in 2015. And then after the Gorkha earthquake, there were some cracks and absorbed in those areas. And then our team collected the data in 2017. So as I already iterated, there were so many cracks visible in this landslide area. And again, this area is really, active because we had some tremors from the seismic activity, and also the rainfall together has been acting in this region, which has been resulting in the debris flow and so on. So basically, what we are doing now is we are now calculating the volume of debris from the of the landslides using drone technology. We have a digital elevation model constructed in 2017, and now we will be implementing the same, and then we will be assessing the differences in the elevations and computing the volume of debris. Also, we'll be assessing the landslide changes and the factors that has been influencing the landslides in that region, and also explore the possible recommendation measures. So the entire study is being grouped into the 6 phases, and in the initial part, what we have already done is we have identified the stakeholders in the region. We are now having a communication with them and then getting some information about the landslides, how it has been affecting in that region. Also, we have now prepared the list of data that is available, and also we have prepared a data collection protocol to move into the field. And talking about the text study, you can see one of the images that we captured from the UAV survey in 2017. And on the left, you can see the satellite imagery from 2003. You can see the area has been like significantly increasing. It is really visible from these satellite images as well. So as a part of our study, we are also reviewing these historical satellite images. And this is the area where we will be planning to have a drone survey. So the image on the right is from the 2017, where our technology expert, Mr. Uttam, conducted a survey. And now we are again going to have a study in this area. So we are also reviewing the different types of models that are being used for the estimation of debris flow. So we are exploring models like FLOAR, AvaFlow, and so on. So this is one of the picture that I have kept here from one of the study area where we generated very high resolution DEM of like 30 centimeter resolution, and then it was processed to compute the flow of the debris, the propagation of the debris, and the velocity of the, the flow could also be modeled using different models. So this is what we have been doing now. And the flight planning has also been prepared, and we have also prepared the tentative schedule. And regarding the field visit, our team, since it's a monsoon time here in Nepal and we are getting rain, so as of now we have like halted the drone survey, but then we will resume it as soon as the monsoon ends. And then for this, we have already coordinated and collected the permissions for the aerial survey from the different concerned stakeholders and so on. So in the field survey and consultations, we will not just be collecting the data from the drones, but also we will be applying the participatory approach. We will be discussing with the stakeholders in the region how that landslide has been affecting for them. And also we will be talking, and we'll be having a rapid field, recce with the local stakeholders. We will have consultations with the municipality and the local ward offices, and with the very old persons who have very good insights on that landslide. We'll be having key informant interview, and then we will collect all those qualitative and quantitative insights from the field. So it will not just be the frontier technologies, but it will be amalgamated by the participatory approaches, which will help us in identifying the real scenario and also in the exploration of potential solutions. And in this phase, it's about data processing and analysis. We will be collecting the drone data sets and then processing it to develop orthomosaic and also the digital elevation model. So the resolution of the model, the digital elevation model will also be compared with what we did in the past, so that we can have a very good analysis. And besides that, through the participatory insights and also identifying the regions where the potential solutions can be applied. So we will have a look at the different nature-based solutions and also the sustainable measures that could be implied in that region, so that we can have less impacts from these debris. And besides that, we are also aiming to have the capacity building and enhancement in the region. For that, we will also be having some dissemination and also capacity building workshops in the municipality, where we will share some of the interesting findings that we will observe from our models and also from the fieldwork. And then we will also share some of the potential recommendations, and which will be again discussed with the stakeholders to finalize it. And at the end of this, we will be submitting the observations from our work to the stakeholders and also to our network in sharing this. So for this, since the area is also a bit large, we are planning to have Wintra drones, which will be capturing the data in a very short period of time. And the observed data will be then processed. Besides, our team is also preparing some ArcGIS story map. There's a juxtapose that will help to visualize the previous images from the historical imagery and the current drone images. So the story map is also being prepared, and this has been the timeline, which I already discussed. And some of the deliverables is about getting the high resolution data sets and the use of those data sets in modeling the volume of the debris flow that has been that will be occurred in the different point of time. We will also explore the rate of erosion from the historical imagery and also from the current imagery. And besides, we'll also be doing the overlay analysis and exposure assessment of how many households will be affected under this current scenario, or how many areas, how many square kilometers of the agricultural area is supposed to get affected. So these things will be assessed during our overlay analysis. And based on these all observations and finding, we'll be drafting a scientific publications so that it can be disseminated to the wider community on how the applications of the frontier technologies can be used to model the debris flow, and also develop or acquire very high resolutions outputs. So this is it for now. I'll be really happy to take any questions, and also I would like to appeal if we could like have collaborations, and we would be really happy to hear from you on your perspectives on how do we move ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suraj. This is a great presentation. We already have one question in the chat, and I would like to encourage everyone to put more questions in the chat as well. So the first question is from Ibrahim from Sierra Leone Flying Labs, who says, what challenges or what limitations have the teams encountered when using drones for landslide studies in these diverse geographic regions, and how have they been addressed? Maybe we could start with Cameroon Flying Labs.
Okay, thanks, Kaya. In the case of Cameroon, we have not yet done a landslide mapping, landslide management we do in Cameroon yet. So I'm not well placed to answer the question. Maybe Nepal can come and ask the question.
And a follow-up question, do you anticipate any challenges, Cesar? Can you already think of, are you preparing for some challenges that Ibrahim mentioned?
Yeah, in terms of challenges, maybe the weather conditions, because here the weather is changes very rapidly, and that can be one of the big challenges that we encounter when doing the landslide mapping. And another challenge that we might encounter is the acceptance of from local communities, because they might not be aware that that landslide, that mapping landslide with drone can be benefit for them in the long run. That also can be considered as a challenge. Yeah. So for the time being, that's what we have as challenges, as possible challenges in the future.
Thank you, Cesar. So moving on to Nepal Flying Labs.
Thank you. So this is a very pertinent question, and I would like to be more specific on this, because the study of different hazards like floods and other things are a bit easier as compared to the landslides, because there are more than 10 or 15 factors that has been contributing towards the generation of landslides. And it is the like 3D, with the help of drones, we could model 3D modeling of the landslides, or also generate the high resolution digital elevation model of that landslide. And apart from that, so having just the high resolution data set is also not a solution in some of the regions, because of to manage or to model the landslide susceptibility or landslide hazard, or maybe the debris flow modeling, you need some other parameters as well. So if you have very good data sets and very high resolution data sets of like land use, geology, and all the different parameters, together with the high resolution DEM, then only we will be able to have very precise assessments. And talking about the challenges or limitations while using drone studies is like the terrain simply you cannot like for the reactivated landslides, it's okay that you can go and you can just fly your drone. But then if you want to explore where it can be the where there can be the landslide, so for that reason you have to model, or you have to map the very large area, because you are not certain that okay, this area is going to have landslide. So in that sense, you also need to do more survey. And talking about the topographical challenges, I already mentioned in Nepal, it's really difficult. The microclimatic conditions also vary. And if you fly drones, there are very high chances that you might lost GPS or maybe or something else. So yeah, there are some technical challenges. It is based on the topography, and also the approach that we and the purpose of our study. If you want to do a very high resolution work, then maybe you have to get more data, not just the digital elevation model, but also other factors that contribute to landslides. Okay, I would like to conclude here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suraj. The second question came from Jack, who is asking, is there any particular reason why you are using 2 drones for your study? And I assume this question is addressed to Cameroon Flying Labs, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, sure. It was. There's no particular reason. Actually, we are still trying to figure out which one will be the best because we have not yet decided to use both. At the end, we will use just one. So we are still deciding which one will be the best.
I would like to add that it is also a way for us to anticipate because we don't know in which type of conditions we are going to be working. Like I said, we gave the different reasons why we want to use each of the drones because there's some like the Matrix 350, we said it is more suitable in harsh conditions. Like if we are supposed to be working perhaps during heavy rains, if we're supposed to be working perhaps in climates that are going to perhaps minus 20 to about 15. So it all depends. It's just a way for us to anticipate for the different type of conditions we're going to meet during our work. So we want to be fully prepared, knowing that we have drones that are having a good autonomy, flight autonomy, that's 45 minutes and 55 minutes, because we might be in an area where we are unable to be recharging the batteries often. So we want to use drones that are better off and that can be easier and suitable for us. So it's an anticipation, a way for us to anticipate, like I'm saying.
Thank you so much, Joel, for this answer. I think there is always a trade-off, right? There is no ideal solution for all the applications. So it's always good to have options. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? We have a few more minutes, so we could take maybe 2 or 3 more questions. I personally am wondering, this would be a question for Nepal Flying Labs, for Suraj. I was wondering why you are focusing on this particular area. Have you seen any change since 2017? Oh, because you're mapping the same area once again. Has there already been some movement of the landslide? Have you already observed some changes and you hope to see the change detection, the volume analysis? You know, are you expecting a large change between these 2 days?
Thank you, Karina. So, yeah, if you see the number of such kind of events that's happening in Nepal, so we had a very complex flow. It was a cascading event in 2021 nearby, like not nearby, but it was in a part of the central province. It's in the Bagmati province. It was in Melamchi, where we had a very complex flow. So what we feel is, since the area is also getting, the area in Ramesap where we are currently working, it has been spreading and expanding a lot. And if there are any chances that there are some structures or any kind of things that would block those debris, and if there's extreme rainfall, and then if there's any possibility of cascading events in that area or not, so this is something that we wanted to analyze. Besides the amount of debris flow, if you see, like it has been, it has been expanding a lot, and it is spread for more than like 20 kilometers. So it's a long area. So I think it's a very right and good time to map all those things and also see what is the rate of erosion in that area. For instance, we don't have that data because we did that survey in 2017 and we could just model, okay, this would be the propagation area. But since now we have both the DEM, like from the 2017 and from 2009 and from this 2023, so we'll be exploring on the rate of the deposition of these debris. So that will help us in predicting, okay, whether we need to act right now, or maybe we can make some other way of mitigation measures, or maybe some best alternative. So it will not just be help us in assessing, but will also provide us an opportunity to explore sustainable solutions on those areas. So this is the basic motive for working in this area.
All right, thank you, Suraj. And just thinking also of Cameroon Flying Labs, I know that you guys said that there is a high chance of a landslide happening in the same spot where it already happened in the past, right? So I was wondering if you have any criteria or any methodology for picking these landslides that have higher risk of this event happening in this particular place again. Are you focusing on these high risk landslides? Let's say, I'm sure it's not a technical term, but I hope you can understand what I mean.
Please, can you come again with your question? I was a little bit out. Can you come again with your question, please?
Absolutely. I was wondering if you have any criteria or any methodology that you apply to select these landslides that have the higher risk of this event happening there again, and if you're focusing on these particular ones.
It's true that our study is not focusing on a particular area or a particular zone. It is more of creating awareness for areas, that's for upcoming areas. It's not much about the areas that have already occurred where the landslide occurred, but it's more of creating awareness for other areas, because I wouldn't want to say that a place where which has been flooded cannot be corrected. For me, well, we go on the principle that it takes very much to perhaps ask people to leave the area, because the settlements are already there. So it's more of for us to create awareness for other sites, so so that people would rather not go and settle in areas in flooded or landslided areas in the upcoming or in the future. That's more of our approach.
Thank you very much. I encourage everyone to put the last questions in the chat before we end. And in the meantime, there was a message from Jack who says, thank you to the two Flying Labs for insightful presentations. We would like to access their reports when the projects are done. We had mudslides in a construction site in Durban last year, which led to losses of buildings and lives. Thank you, Jack, for sharing that. And of course, all the outcomes of these projects will be shared in a form of blog posts and story maps. So please keep an eye on the Flying Labs website and the Flying Labs blog. I would also suggest for Suraj, Césaire, Desap, and Jorel to put their contact details in the chat, or maybe contact details of the Flying Labs, so that people can reach out to you. Do we have any last questions in the meantime while the speakers are typing their email addresses? I will take the silence as a no, but I would still like to wait 2 more minutes to give you some time to share the emails. Desap, do you mind sharing the Cameroon Flying Labs email on behalf of Cameroon Flying Labs?
Yeah, sure. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. This is there. I can send the Flying Labs official email addresses. There is one for Cameroon Flying Labs and also a one from Nepal. Feel free to reach out to these guys, and thank you so much everyone for your time, especially thank you for the presentations. Thanks to Cameroon and Nepal Flying Labs, and also I would like to thank my colleague Mufon, who helped a lot with organization of this webinar. Thank you all. Have a
Thanks,
great
Kaya.
day.
Thanks, all.
Take care, everyone.
So much.
Thank you.